Have you ever had a moment where you saw someone you thought you knew, truly knew, in a completely new light? A fleeting instant where the ordinary veil is pulled back, and you get a glimpse of the profound depth, the hidden glory, the breathtaking reality of who they really are? These moments are rare, and they are unforgettable. They change how you see that person forever. But what if such a moment happened with God Himself in human form? What if three ordinary fishermen, who had walked with Jesus for years, who had eaten with Him, laughed with Him, and listened to His teachings, were suddenly given a glimpse of His true, unveiled, divine identity? Today, we journey to the peak of a high, lonely mountain to witness one of the most mysterious, awe-inspiring, and pivotal moments in the life of Jesus Christ. This is not just another miracle story. This was a tear in the fabric of reality, a moment when the veil between heaven and earth became transparent, and the true glory of the Son of God blazed forth. This is the story of the Transfiguration, a divine revelation that was meant to be an anchor for our faith, a preview of our future hope, and a powerful confirmation of the single most important truth in all of history. Our story takes place at a critical juncture in Jesus' ministry. He has just told His disciples, for the first time, that He must go to Jerusalem to suffer, be killed, and on the third day be raised to life. This was a devastating, confusing prediction. They had followed Him, believing Him to be the Messiah, the conquering King who would restore Israel. Now He was speaking of suffering and death. Their hopes were shaken, their understanding clouded by doubt and fear. And it is in this context that Jesus does something remarkable. About a week later, He takes His inner circle, Peter, James, and John, and leads them up a high mountain by themselves to pray. Imagine the scene: the weary climb, the crisp mountain air, the quiet solitude. As Jesus is praying, something extraordinary begins to happen. The man they knew, the familiar teacher and friend, begins to change before their very eyes. The scripture says His face shone like the sun. His clothes became as white as the light, dazzlingly, blindingly white, whiter than any bleach on earth could make them. This was not a reflection. This was a radiation. For a brief, breathtaking moment, the humanity of Jesus became a translucent veil for the pure, unadulterated glory of God that dwelt within Him. The disciples were seeing a glimpse of His pre-incarnate, heavenly reality. They were seeing the King in His true splendor. And as if this were not overwhelming enough, two other figures suddenly appear, standing there in glory, talking with Jesus. And the disciples recognize them. It is Moses and Elijah. This is not a random collection of historical figures. This is a divine summit meeting. Moses, the great lawgiver, the one who received the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai, representing the entirety of the law, and Elijah, the great prophet, who was taken up to heaven in a chariot of fire, representing all of the prophets. The law and the prophets, the two great pillars of the Old Testament, are here on this mountain, speaking with Jesus about His departure, His coming death and resurrection in Jerusalem. In this single, powerful vision, God is showing that the entire story of the Old Testament, all the laws, all the prophecies, pointed to this one man. Jesus was not just another teacher. He was the fulfillment of everything God had been promising for centuries. Peter, impulsive and overwhelmed, doesn't know what to do with this incredible sight. He stammers, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He wants to preserve the moment, to build a monument to this glory. But he is missing the point. Moses and Elijah are not Jesus' equals. They are His witnesses. And just as Peter is speaking, an even greater glory descends. A bright cloud envelopes them, and from within the cloud, a voice speaks. It is the voice of God the Father Himself. And He says, "This is my Son, whom I love. With Him I am well pleased. Listen to Him." In that moment, Moses the lawgiver and Elijah the prophet fade away, and only Jesus is left. The message is stunningly clear. The era of the law and the prophets has pointed to its fulfillment. Now there is a new and final authority. Listen to him. The disciples are terrified. They fall face down to the ground, overcome with fear and awe. And Jesus comes and touches them. "Get up," he says. "Don't be afraid." And when they look up, they see no one except Jesus, their familiar teacher, once again. Have you ever had a personal mountaintop experience in your faith? A moment of profound clarity or closeness to God that has served as an anchor for you in difficult times? Share what that was like in the comments below. The Transfiguration was a gift. It was a strategic and compassionate act of God. For these 3 disciples who would become pillars of the early church, this was a taste of the glory that was to come. When they would later see their master arrested, beaten, and crucified, when their world would collapse into the darkness of Good Friday, they would have this memory, burned into their souls, of the day they saw him shining like the sun. They would know that the cross was not a tragic defeat, but a path to an even greater glory. And this gift is for us, too. The Transfiguration is a powerful anchor for our own faith. It is a definitive declaration of Jesus' true identity. He is not just a good man, not just a wise teacher, not just a prophet. He is the beloved Son of God, radiant in glory, the fulfillment of all Scripture, and the one to whom the Father himself commands us to listen. It is also a profound promise of our own future. The dazzling glory that the disciples saw in Jesus is a preview of the resurrected life that awaits all who believe. The Apostle Paul tells us that we will be transformed into his likeness, with bodies that are glorious and imperishable. The Transfiguration shows us our ultimate destiny. So, when you find yourself in the valley of doubt and confusion, when the path ahead seems dark and the promises of God feel distant, remember the mountain. Remember the day that heaven broke through earth to reveal the truth. Remember that the Jesus who walked the dusty roads of Galilee is the same Jesus who shines brighter than the sun. He is the King of glory, the fulfillment of all promises, and his voice is the one that matters above all others. If this glimpse into the divine glory of Christ has inspired you today, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Join us as we continue to explore the breathtaking moments in Scripture that anchor our faith and illuminate our path.